Welcome back to my channel. This is Becky, and this is part 2 of talking about codependency versus interdependency. So I just want to go back over the criteria. So codependent symptoms, which I went more in depth with in the last video, was preoccupation, increased tolerance, loss of control, denial, blackouts, craving, compulsive behaviors. We also have codependent behaviors, which would be the rationalizing, the minimizing, blaming, sneaking and lying, hiding secrets, isolating, euphoric recall. And then I have both of them also have decreased tolerance and medical problems, because it is an emotional, spiritual tug of war. And if you add in any sort of infidelity or any sort of sexual indiscretions, which even includes masturbation and spiritual sexual explorations, because that taps you into demonic realms. So there's a whole lot we can go into. If you want to go ahead and schedule a free consultation with me at homans.consulting@gmail.com, and then we can talk more about your specific situation and how I can help. All right, so continuing on, we have, so when I do these assessments with you, I'm trying to figure out if you are codependent. The ratings that I kind of, as you're answering, these are the categories. I'm listening to rate you on your numbness or how emotionally disconnected you are. I'm looking at your anger, your level of anger, not just your expressed anger, but your subconscious, your emotional body, and your spiritual body. I'm able to help you on all levels of how deep that anger is really embedded into your psyche. I'm looking at blaming, if you are playing the victim or if you're taking full responsibility for your parts in the situation, or if you're trying to take on all of the responsibility and not delegating equal responsibility to all parts involved. I'm looking at loneliness factors, is the behaviors and the communication problem from a lack of support system and a lack of community. I'm also going to be looking at your sadness level, and again, I'm looking on even the levels that you aren't consciously aware of, and so I'm going to be assessing that when coming up with a treatment plan. I'm going to be looking at disappointment, so you're going to be sharing information about yourself with me, and then I'm going to be kind of evaluating what type of success, failure, disappointments, excitement patterns you've had in your lifetime. I'm going to be looking at your guilt, your fear, and your shame. So we're going to look at the levels and the intensity of those, which most of us who have had a lot of negative, maybe we would say negative experiences with others, then it could be based on you having unhealed wounds within your lower 3 chakras. And so then I can help you work through those. And if you want to know more about what that all means, go ahead and like, subscribe, and continue reaching out to me, and we will have more discussions about that. So what exactly is codependency, and how can I avoid it in my relationships? Here's another tool that I use with couples. We've got codependency is a broad term, and it can manifest in a variety of ways. So here I'm going to give you a list of some of the most common symptoms of codependency. You don't need to have all of them to consider yourself codependent, and I find it's helpful to think of codependency on a spectrum. Some of us experience more symptoms and distress due to our codependent traits than others. And some of us are in denial of how codependent we are on other people. There are people that want to say that they are independent, but no one is ever alone. We are never self-sufficient wholeheartedly, even if you're a farmer living out in the middle of the mountains or wherever farmers go on the fields, and there's no people around. Well, you had to have had help, whether it was repairing an engine or planting the seeds or selling it. You have to have somebody that's going to eat that crop, that you're growing. So at some point, you're never alone. You're going to be interacting with other people on the planet, whether we like it or not. Or you can go crazy being alone too long, and that's not healthy. Watch the movie Castaway. They show you perfectly. You end up making, a volleyball your best friend. I mean, people do strange things when they've been isolated too long, and we need community. So if you don't feel like you have a community and you feel like you're the odd duck, the ugly duckling, the odd man out, the underdog in your storyline right now, and you want to be main character of your storyline and you're ready to launch into your future, reach out and schedule an appointment so we can talk. All right. So which of these symptoms of codependency do you have? You have a responsibility for other people's feelings and choices, trying to rescue, fix, make them feel better, or solve their problems. You feel frustrated and resentful when others don't want your help or your advice. You derive a sense of purpose from taking care of others. Your relationships can have an obsessive quality. You have difficulty accepting help. Your fear of abandonment and rejection result in people-pleasing and tolerating mistreatment. You're hardworking, overly responsible, and may give to the point of exhaustion or resentment. You have perfectionist tendencies. You have trouble saying no, setting boundaries, being assertive, and asking for what you need or want. You routinely prioritize other people's needs and wants above your own. You don't practice self-care routinely, and you feel guilty when you do. You're afraid of conflict. You have difficulty trusting and being emotionally vulnerable. You suppress or numb your feelings and absorb other people's feelings. You have low self-esteem, feel unlovable, or not good enough. You want to feel in control and have a hard time adjusting when things don't go according to plan or the way that you want. Like I said, you don't have to have all of those to be considered codependent, and to be honest, people can shift and change depending on the person that they're in relationship with. So a lot of times I will find when I'm working with families, I can see who that individual is codependent on and who they are hyper independent from. So you will find one family member might say, why does he always come to me? Or why does she only bother me with that? Like, why can't she go to her mom? Or why can't she go to her dad? Or and it's because people learn other people, and so they know who they need to talk to in order to get the reflection that they're wanting. And people are crafty. I mean, even my autistic children would wait till I was taking a nap or asleep, and then they would try to wake me up but keep me in that halfway dreamlike state to ask me if they could have a piece of candy. And then half the time I'm in a dream state thinking I'm still asleep and I'm answering yes, not realizing that I've just been tricked by my own children into giving them permission to eat candy. I mean, it's crazy when you realize how much these kids actually know. All right, how to avoid codependency in your relationships. Number one, instead of denying your own needs, you need to prioritize self-care. Self-care is the foundation of your emotional and physical health. This includes adequate sleep, exercise, solitude, reflection, spiritual practices, socializing, pursuing hobbies and interests. And as codependents, we often sacrifice our own needs in order to take care of others. When we do this, we're likely to get sick, irritable, resentful, impatient, disconnected from ourselves, and possibly depressed and anxious. We need to create a balance in our lives by meeting our own needs first and giving to others when we're able to do so without sacrificing our own well-being. What do you need? If you're not sure, pay attention to how your body feels, your thoughts, and your feelings. What's one thing that you can do today to meet that need? What are other acts of self-care that you can commit to doing this week? Number 2, instead of compulsively trying to fix or take care of others, let others make their own choices. Codependents tend to have big hearts. We care a lot and don't like to see people suffer, but we also tend to be controlling. We need to remember that we can't control others, we can't make them change or get help, even when we have their best interests at heart. And often, trying to force our solutions on people only makes things worse. So who or what do you need to detach from? What's happened in the past when you've tried to fix, help this person or problem? What can you say to yourself to help you release control and let others make their own choices? Instead of seeking approval from others, value yourself. Codependents tend to look to others for validation and approval. When we do this, we give our power away. We allow others to determine our worth instead of deciding for ourselves. We can build our self-esteem and learn to love and value ourselves by noticing our strengths, forgiving ourselves for our mistakes, and most importantly, remembering that love doesn't have to be earned. We are all inherently worthy and important. What are some of your strengths? What do you like about yourself? Write a positive affirmation that validates your worth. Number 4, instead of judging and criticizing yourself, practice self-compassion. We set unrealistic expectations for ourselves and expect ourselves to be perfect and then berate ourselves for falling short. We deserve to treat ourselves with the same loving kindness that we show others when they're struggling. What are you struggling with right now? What would you say to a friend who is struggling with that same issue? Now say the same thing to yourself. What loving act would you do for your struggling friend? A hug? Time alone? Homemade treat? A self-help book? Etc. Using this as inspiration, what loving act can you do for yourself? Number 5. Instead of people-pleasing, develop a stronger sense of self. As codependents, we need to let relationships define us. We lose our own identities and give up what's important to us. We can avoid this by reconnecting with our interests, goals, values, and friends. We can make time to do what's meaningful to us rather than deriving our worth from being someone's spouse, parent, or best friend, or doing what will make other people happy. What are your interests and hobbies? And if you're not sure, just brainstorm some ideas. What are your personal goals? How and when can you explore some of your interests and goals? Number 6, instead of being a martyr, ask for help. Most codependents hate asking for help. We don't want to appear weak and would much prefer the superior role of helper. But it's not realistic to do everything yourself and not need anything from others. So asking for help is normal and necessary, and it can reduce exhaustion and resentment, which can plague us when we feel like we have to do it all ourselves. What do you need help with? Who could you ask to help you? And even though it's difficult, would you be willing to try asking for help? Why or why not? Number 7. Instead of letting people take advantage of your kindness, set boundaries and be assertive. Boundaries create safety in relationships. They communicate your expectations and how you want to be treated. Contrary to popular belief, boundaries aren't selfish or unkind. It's healthy to communicate your needs and let people know what's okay and what's not okay. What boundaries do you need right now? If this is a boundary that you need to communicate to someone, try writing a script and reading it out loud to yourself to see how it sounds. Make sure it clearly states what you want and need. It's direct yet kind, and it's not blaming or judgmental. Ooh, that's a lot of information to take in, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave it there and let you process it, and go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this video so we can get the content out and the message to a wider audience. And I'm so grateful that you're here wanting to make a change and that you're reaching out to me in order to make that change. I look forward to talking with you in my next video, and I hope you have a great day.